Hello, I'm Jaworski, and welcome to my couch. Tonight we're going to look at some movies, but not just any movies, really good movies. And I'm not talking about you, Piranha 3DD. You're kind of terrible. Terrible. No, we're going to be looking at some of the all-time greatest movies, and all by a single director. That man is Martin Scorsese. Tonight we're going to look at 3 of his classics, all separated by a decade in terms of release. We're going to start off with Goodfellas. Right away, fans of authentic and unique credit sequences are going to like this. The movie begins with the words racing by you like cars on a highway, with the appropriate sound effect to match. It's a great tone setter. Next, we're greeted with a panning shot of a car speeding down the highway, and then an examination shot of our 3 protagonists. Now, this isn't the true beginning of the story. This is more of a Pulp Fiction style opening, where we're seeing something much later in the film, but it's there to kind of give us a little bit of idea of what to expect. What we gather? Dead bodies, mobsters, swearing, and Joe Pesci.
Is that? Jimmy.
What's up?
Did I hit something?
What the fuck is that?
Is there flat?
Flat?
What? No.
What the fuck? You better pull over and see.
Yeah.
Next, we come to a scene that gives this movie great storytelling props. The story off the bat is told straight to us by Jimmy Conway, our love him or hate him protagonist, descriptively going through the first few years he had with the mob. And now, in most movies, handing the audience a giant chunk of exposition this early might lead to them, say, turning off and switching to Honey Boo Boo. But Scorsese does this in a way that makes it interesting and vibrant. And this is done through the camera. The camera is almost always moving, whether it's point of view, following someone, or even just kind of meandering about like the audience is some unknown person, nameless, and just witness to everything that is happening. It keeps us engaged, content, and interested. And this is important because this movie has an over 2-hour runtime, so we need to be kept in our seats. The cinematography in this movie is sublime by any standard. And best of all, it doesn't fail by taking the modern Hollywood way of shaky cam, or hand cam rather, by, well, doing just that, having the camera go around, kind of jittering, and basically getting shots that are no good. If I wanted to see that, I could hand my 2-year-old cousin a camera and tell her to play teeter-totter with it. This movie is constantly on the move in terms of story, jumping through the years, skimming over fine details, but honestly, it needs to. I have a feeling that the novel this was based on has already been extremely condensed, and we're still looking at an over 2-hour runtime. That being said, character progression hasn't suffered. We've seen changes in temperament, the characters themselves look older, and some people even end up dead after they were once alive. Sometimes though, it will stop and just slow down for gems like Joe Pesci's "You think I'm funny" speech, which gives us all the background we need as to see what a mobster really thinks is funny. Speaking of Pesci, he is very authentically written, taking on the role of a phobic, wise guy who always cracks. What does that mean? Well, it means you can do this. Pesci say what?
What do you...
Pesci say what?
What do you mean?
Pesci say what?
What?
Pesci say...
No.
Next up on the docket is 1970s cult classic Taxi Driver. It's an off-putting tale of a Vietnam War vet who's trying to readjust to daily life after everything he's seen and done. And he does this by burying his sorrows and taking up a new, very noble profession. Taxi driving. He's a taxi driver. If main character Travis looks a little familiar, that's because it's Robert De Niro, one of the main characters from Goodfellas. Much like Goodfellas, Taxi Driver gives us an intro so distinct, it'll be unlikely that we forget it. I swear the soundtrack here is so ferociously epic that it can make anything look impressive. Not that it needs to, as these shots are both clean, gritty, and really realistic, and instill a lot of emotion just on their own. And frankly, although it is really good, that specific horn blare comes back at least a dozen times throughout the movie. Some people call that art, some people call it annoying, and others call it cheap.